The silence in our elegant living room, usually a testament to our peaceful life, felt heavy, suffocating. My husband, David, sat across from me, his face a mask of practiced concern, explaining away some minor financial hiccup. I nodded, feigning understanding, my mind still reeling from the text message I had received barely an hour ago. "He never loved you, Sarah. It was always about the money." The words had burned into my vision, sent from an anonymous number, chilling me to the bone. They were absurd, of course. David and I had built a life together, a beautiful home, a shared dream. Yet, as he spoke, his eyes darted nervously, betraying a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. Not love, not concern, but a calculating flicker I had never noticed before. Then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed again, a stark, unwelcome vibration that cut through the manufactured calm. It was a bank alert, a chilling notification about a major unauthorized transaction on our joint account. My breath hitched. David's eyes widened, a genuine panic replacing his feigned composure. The color drained from his face. In that instant, the anonymous text, the bank alert, and David's sudden fear coalesced into a terrifying, undeniable truth. My perfect life was a meticulously constructed lie, and I, Sarah Matthews, was at the precipice of utter ruin. My name is Sarah Matthews, and for 15 years, I believed I had the perfect life with my husband, David Thorne. He was charming, ambitious, and seemingly devoted, handling all our finances with an expertise I admired. Our life together was a carefully curated image of success and happiness. But in a single, shattering hour, that illusion crumbled. First came the anonymous text message, a chilling declaration that David had never loved me, that our marriage was merely a calculated means to an end. Moments later, a bank alert confirmed my worst fears, a massive unauthorized transaction, the cold, hard proof of financial devastation. The man I loved, the partner I trusted implicitly, was a fraud. He had stolen not just my heart, but my security, my future, everything we had supposedly built together. This is the story of how I uncovered his intricate web of deceit, faced the profound betrayal, and found a way to reclaim my life, turning his carefully orchestrated downfall into a testament to true justice. My childhood was modest, but filled with a quiet sense of security and genuine affection. My parents, both educators, instilled in me a strong work ethic and an appreciation for integrity over material wealth. I pursued a career in research, a field I loved for its precision and the satisfaction of uncovering hidden truths. It was during a professional conference that I met David Thorne. He was charismatic, with an easy smile and an ambitious glint in his eye. He worked in financial consulting, and his stories of high-stakes deals and intricate market analyses captivated me. I, a practical and grounded person, was drawn to his vivacity and his seemingly confident command of the world. David was everything I thought I wanted in a partner: attentive, supportive, and seemingly passionate about building a life together. He spoke eloquently of financial stability, of building an empire, but always in the context of our shared future. We married within 2 years, a beautiful ceremony that felt like the beginning of a truly magnificent journey. I brought to the marriage not immense wealth, but a substantial trust fund established by my frugal grandparents, a nest egg intended for my future security and for starting a family. It wasn't a fortune, but it was significant, enough to provide a comfortable buffer and a solid foundation. David, who came from a more humble background, seemed genuinely touched by my family's legacy and promised to honor it. From the start, David took charge of our finances. He was the expert, after all. He managed our joint accounts, oversaw investments, and handled all the bills. I trusted him implicitly. He assured me he was investing my trust fund wisely, combining it with his own growing assets to create a robust portfolio. I, preoccupied with my research work and later with creating a warm, nurturing home, rarely questioned the specifics. He provided regular, reassuring updates, showing me impressive charts and figures that always seemed to be trending upwards. He made me feel secure, loved, and cared for. Over the years, our life expanded. We bought a beautiful house in an affluent suburb, drove comfortable cars, and enjoyed holidays abroad. David seemed to be thriving in his career, often traveling for big deals and returning with tales of success. He was always charming, attentive, and outwardly the perfect husband. He spoke often of our shared dream of retirement in a few years, of traveling the world. I believed every word. What I didn't know was the meticulous web of deceit David had been weaving. My trust fund, my initial nest egg, had been the bait. He had systematically siphoned off its contents, not just investing it poorly, but channeling it into a complex network of shell companies and high-risk ventures that were essentially elaborate Ponzi schemes or money laundering operations. He had subtly coerced me into signing documents, disguised as routine financial updates or tax forms, which effectively gave him complete control over our assets, and even authorized him to take out loans in my name or use our properties as collateral without my direct knowledge. He had even established lines of credit in my name, which he had silently exhausted. His successful deals abroad were often fronts for these illicit activities. The luxurious lifestyle we enjoyed was financed not by genuine wealth, but by a constantly collapsing pyramid of stolen funds and mounting debt, cleverly disguised by his financial wizardry. He was a chameleon, effortlessly switching between the loving husband at home and the ruthless con artist in the shadows. His charm was his greatest weapon, disarming anyone, especially me, from asking too many questions. I had been so deeply, utterly trusting, so blinded by what I believed was true love, that I had never seen the predator hiding in plain sight. David wasn't building a future with me. He was building an escape, a financial fortress for himself at my devastating expense. The stage was set for a brutal awakening. The morning had started like any other. David had left for work with a customary kiss and a promise to call me during his lunch break. I spent my morning at my home office, immersed in a complex research paper. The house was quiet, filled with the comfortable hum of domesticity. I felt content, utterly at peace with my life. Then my phone vibrated. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, then answered. A cold, female voice, distorted slightly as if to conceal identity, spoke without preamble. "Is this Sarah Matthews?" "Yes, it is," I replied, a slight frown creasing my brow. "You need to know something about David," the voice continued, devoid of emotion. "He never loved you." "Not really. It was always about the money. Your trust fund, your house, your good name. It was all a means to an end. He's been planning this for years. He's just waiting for the right moment to disappear with everything." The call ended abruptly, leaving me in stunned silence, the dial tone a mocking echo. My hand trembled as I lowered the phone. My mind raced, trying to process the words. "He never loved you. All about the money." It was so outlandish, so cruel. David? My charming, devoted David? It had to be a cruel joke, a vindictive ex-girlfriend, a prank call. I tried to dismiss it, to rationalize it away, but a tiny, insidious seed of doubt had been planted. I felt a chill, despite the warm spring morning. Just as I was about to call David to laugh off the bizarre message, my phone vibrated again. This time, it was a notification from my primary bank. My heart lurched. I tapped it open, my breath catching in my throat. The words on the screen were stark, terrifying. Urgent. Suspicious activity detected. Large outgoing transfers. Account frozen pending fraud investigation. The air left my lungs. My vision blurred. Large outgoing transfers. Account frozen. Fraud investigation. The phrases crashed into me like a tidal wave. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a jealous ex. This was real. My mind, trained in research and logical deduction, began to piece together the terrifying puzzle. The anonymous text, followed by the bank alert. The timing was too precise to be coincidence. He never loved you. It was always about the money. The words echoed in my head, no longer absurd, but terrifyingly prophetic. The man I had shared my bed with for 15 years, the man I had trusted with my entire life, was a professional deceiver. He hadn't just betrayed my love, he had systematically orchestrated my financial ruin. The shame was suffocating, the heartbreak profound. My world, which had seemed so solid moments before, had just shattered into irreparable pieces. The initial shock was quickly replaced by a cold, searing rage. My hands, still trembling, fumbled for my laptop. I logged into our online banking, my fingers flying across the keyboard, desperate for a different story, a technical glitch, anything but the nightmare unfolding before me. But there it was, transaction after transaction, large sums siphoned off to unfamiliar accounts, overseas transfers, and withdrawals I didn't recognize. Our joint savings account, once robust, was practically empty. The notification about fraud investigation was not about a small suspicious payment. It was about the systematic draining of everything we owned. My trust fund, the nest egg from my grandparents, was gone. Even the equity in our house, I soon discovered from a quick check of the mortgage details, had been secretly leveraged, leaving us with a colossal, unauthorized second mortgage. I tried to call David. No answer. His phone went straight to voicemail. I tried his office number. His assistant said he was out of the office for the day on an urgent matter. The sickening realization hit me. He wasn't just pulling a quick scam. This was his grand exit. He was executing his plan to disappear with everything, leaving me to face the wreckage. The anonymous text had been a cruel final taunt, perhaps from an accomplice or a discarded lover, a bitter confirmation of his true nature. The depth of his planning, the years of smiling deception, made my stomach churn. I felt a fool, utterly naive, consumed by a burning humiliation. How could I have been so blind? My scientific training, which usually guided my research, now took over my panic. I needed data. I needed proof. I began to methodically scour our shared computer, old files, and even David's personal documents he usually kept locked away but, in his haste, must have left accessible. I found shell company names, unfamiliar bank statements from offshore accounts, and correspondence with shadowy legal entities. This wasn't just simple theft, it was a sophisticated, international operation. He wasn't just stealing from me, he was likely defrauding countless others, using their money to fuel his lavish lifestyle and fund his elaborate exit strategy. Among the myriad of incriminating documents, I found a small, unmarked USB drive tucked away in a rarely used drawer in his study desk. It looked innocuous. My heart pounded as I inserted it into my computer. It contained encrypted files, but thankfully, David, in his arrogance, had used a common, easy-to-guess password related to an old inside joke between us. What I found on that drive was far more terrifying than just financial fraud. There were detailed schematics for a large-scale data breach targeting a global financial institution, an institution where David had recently claimed to be consulting. This wasn't just about my money. This was about potentially billions and implicating an untold number of innocent people. And worse, there were communications detailing how he intended to frame a fall guy for the entire operation. My name, chillingly, was mentioned in a coded message, suggesting I would be the easiest one to pin the initial, missing funds on, thanks to my trust fund and my position as his trusting wife. He wasn't just leaving me, he was setting me up. The revelation that I was being framed ignited a new, colder fury within me. The heartbreak was still there, a dull ache, but it was overshadowed by a primal need for self-preservation and justice. I couldn't just sit there and let him escape, taking everything and destroying my reputation in the process. I had to act, and I had to act fast. The documents on the USB drive, especially the data breach schematics and the coded communications, were explosive. But they were also complex, needing expert interpretation to be truly actionable. I immediately thought of Professor Anya Sharma, my former mentor from university, a brilliant cybersecurity expert known for her integrity and uncanny ability to untangle digital puzzles. She was the only person I trusted enough with this kind of information. I called her, my voice strained, barely coherent. She listened patiently, her calm demeanor a lifeline. "Sarah, breathe," she instructed. "Come to my lab. Bring everything. We'll figure this out." Driving to her university lab, my mind raced. I realized that David had significantly underestimated me. He saw me as the trusting wife, the research-focused academic, easily manipulated. But he had forgotten my analytical mind, my resilience, and my ability to work tirelessly to uncover truth, no matter how ugly. While he was busy executing his grand escape, I was already building my counterattack. The time was ticking. Every minute counted. I knew David was likely planning his final, decisive move, perhaps a flight out of the country or a major transfer that would make funds untraceable. I had to expose him before he vanished, before he could complete his betrayal and pin everything on me. The game was far from over. Professor Sharma's lab buzzed with a controlled urgency. Anya, with her sharp eyes and quiet focus, quickly grasped the magnitude of David's scheme. The USB drive held the blueprint for a multi-billion-dollar corporate fraud, a meticulously planned data breach that would implicate David and his shadowy partners, but which he intended to scapegoat onto me. The anonymous text, Anya theorized, was likely a calculated final blow from one of his desperate accomplices, or perhaps even David himself, gloating as he set his final trap. "Sarah," Anya said, her voice grave, "this isn't just about your money. This is a global financial crime. We need to go to the authorities, but we need to do it strategically. We have enough to bring him down, but we need to ensure he is caught before he disappears, and before any more damage is done." Anya, leveraging her extensive network, contacted a highly specialized financial crimes unit. They understood the urgency. We learned David was planning to execute the final, largest phase of his data breach and transfer within the next 48 hours, coinciding with a major international financial summit where he intended to briefly appear, creating an alibi before vanishing. The next day was a blur of frantic activity. The fraud unit, working with Anya, used the data from David's USB to set up a digital trap. They prepared to intercept his final transactions, to trace his digital footprints, and to catch him red-handed. I provided every detail I could remember about his habits, his associates, his travel plans. The pain of his betrayal was a constant, searing ache, but it fueled my determination. I wasn't just fighting for my financial future, I was fighting for my name, my dignity, and to prevent countless others from becoming his victims. The climax arrived on the day of the financial summit. David, oblivious, sent me a final, mocking text message earlier that morning. "Enjoy your freedom, darling. You'll need it." It was his twisted farewell, a confirmation that he believed his plan was foolproof. He thought he had won. But he had made one fatal error. He had underestimated the quiet woman he had so ruthlessly exploited. I, along with the head of the fraud unit and Professor Sharma, watched the screens in a secure operations room. The time for the massive data transfer approached. On one screen, we saw David, impeccably dressed, making a public appearance at the summit, waving to cameras, projecting an image of success and legitimacy. On another, the digital countdown to his illicit transfer ticked down. As the clock struck the precise minute, David initiated the transfer. Instantly, the fraud unit's pre-programmed countermeasures kicked in. They not only intercepted his transactions, but also reversed them, tracing the funds back to their original, legitimate owners. More critically, the digital trap simultaneously activated, sending an anonymous, encrypted alert, filled with irrefutable evidence from his own USB drive, to the cybersecurity teams of the very financial institution he was attempting to breach. Within minutes, alarms blared at the summit. Plainclothes officers, working with the financial institution's security, moved swiftly. On the large screen showing the summit live feed, David's smug smile vanished. He looked up, confused, as two men in dark suits approached him. His eyes started wildly, then landed on the small, discreet camera lens of a news reporter's phone. He instinctively knew he was caught. The last thing I saw before the feed cut out was David's face contorted in disbelief and utter panic as he was led away in handcuffs, his carefully constructed empire of lies crumbling publicly. The revenge wasn't just about reclaiming my money, it was about exposing his true monstrous nature to the world, destroying his facade of success, and ensuring he faced justice. He had intended to disappear, leaving me ruined and framed. Instead, he was publicly apprehended, his grand scheme thwarted by the very woman he deemed too insignificant to truly love or respect. In the months that followed, the scale of David Thorne's fraudulent empire became terrifyingly clear. He was indeed a key player in an international ring of financial criminals. My testimony, combined with the irrefutable data from the USB drive and Professor Sharma's expert analysis, was instrumental in his conviction. He received a lengthy prison sentence, and a significant portion of the stolen funds, including my own trust fund and the equity from our house, was eventually recovered, albeit after a lengthy legal battle. The house itself, once a symbol of our shared dream, was sold, its memories tainted but its value reclaimed. Rebuilding my life wasn't easy. The emotional scars ran deep, and the betrayal left an emptiness that time slowly began to heal. But I wasn't alone. Professor Sharma became more than a mentor. She became a dear friend and a steadfast supporter. She even offered me a position in her lab, allowing me to apply my analytical skills to new, ethical challenges in cybersecurity research, focusing on protecting individuals from the very type of fraud I had experienced. This new path gave me purpose and a renewed sense of confidence. I learned that true strength lies not in wealth or status, but in integrity and resilience. David thought he could use people as pawns in his grand game, discarding them when their utility expired. He underestimated the quiet wisdom of a trusting wife, the power of a woman pushed to her limits, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. His initial cruel text, meant to break me, became the catalyst for his own spectacular downfall. He believed he had won, that his elaborate scheme was flawless. But he failed to account for the human element, the bonds of loyalty, and the relentless desire for justice that ultimately unraveled his meticulously crafted deception. My story became a cautionary tale, but also a beacon of hope for others. It reminded me, and perhaps others, that even in the face of the most profound betrayals, inner strength, intellectual rigor, and an unwavering commitment to truth can lead to not just recovery, but to a profound and unexpected triumph. My life was no longer about a superficial image, it was about genuine purpose, built on honesty and resilience. And that, in itself, was the sweetest revenge.